Awuzwake nazo, we are back again. Another exciting episode of the AMATYMA series where I get to have conversations with various single, married, divorced or widowed men about issues that affect their wellness, be it physical, be it mental, be it financial, it doesn't matter. We talk to all types of men. If you are a man who's a public figure, who's a celebrity, who's not a celebrity, an ordinary person, it doesn't really matter. As long as we're out to MJITA, NDODA, want you to come here and just share your story, share your journey of manhood, your journey of brotherhood, and your journey of fatherhood. I'm very excited to speak to this brother of mine. I've known him for, I don't even know how long.
I don't even know, but it's a long time. Children were born and are now in university.
Jeez, yeah. My good brother Tumisho, Masha, shout out to you. Welcome, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm good. So good to see you. You know, after that disclaimer of how long we've known each other, we also haven't seen each other for a while.
We haven't seen each other.
But you look exactly the same as the last time I left you.
So do you.
You know, your own age.
The last time I saw you and we engaged was when we were doing a campaign called Dons of Style.
That's right.
You and I were
a
part
lot
of
people
this.
don't know
Yeah.
that I was a Don of Style. You know what I mean?
You know, we used to go around the country, going to different restaurants and outlets and identifying men that can dress night spots, and we choose these guys that dress quite well. It was with a brand that I'm not going to mention because they're not paying us to be on this platform. Imagine saying it was with Mama at the time, they haven't paid the airtime. So that's the last time I saw you, and a lot has happened since then. But for those of our listeners and those that are watching the podcast who don't know who you are, who's Tumisho Masha?
Who's Tumisho? It's so hard for me to say because then it might sound like I'm blowing my own horn.
Blow it, bro.
But it's a
if
fact.
you can't
right?
blow your
This
own
is
horn,
what
who
I've
else
done,
will?
right? I'm with the great TT. There's no way I can blow my own horn. No, I'm a TV actor, also a film actor. I'm a voice artist. I am a film and television producer. I've been around for a couple of decades doing this thing.
Shout out to you. You're a living legend.
You know what? That's what the young people call me.
No, that's what I call you, and I'm not young because I acknowledge and recognize the great work you've done in the arts and cultural spaces through your talent of acting, through your talent of public speaking. How's life, bro? I haven't seen you in a while.
Life is amazing, man. Life is absolutely amazing. And I'm so excited about being on this platform, AMATYMA.
Yeah.
Because I think that some of the things that you guys discuss are exactly some of the things that I needed to hear at a certain point that I was going through it. Roughly about, I'd say 7-8 years ago, for quite some time. And I must thank you for some of the support that you threw my way.
Sure.
With the AMATYMA brand when I was going through it. But you know, I want to say to everybody, especially every man that's going through a tough time right now, that this too shall pass. And I'm a living example of that. That, you know, obviously life is ups and downs. And there was a time when I was feeling like I'm right at the top of my career. I'm flying high, I'm doing everything, and boom, I don't know, I didn't see that the crash was coming.
Sure.
And the crash came, and I just by the grace of God, just hung in there. I just hung in there. I think my biggest thing was there was this voice in my head that said, this is just another chapter in your book.
Right.
You can't end this adventure now. You got to see it through.
You got to keep going.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then once you've tied up the chapter with a happy ending,
then you can move on to the next.
You can move on to the next.
But you're talking about chapters, and for someone who's watching this, what happened 7-8 years ago? Can you are you comfortable to talk about it?
No, of course I'm comfortable. That's why I'm here. I mean, I went through something that some people go through, which is a divorce. I went through it. It was the second time. And it was
a second divorce.
Yeah. Okay. And it was a rather nasty, in the papers divorce. I was accused of assaulting my ex-wife. I was fighting on multiple fronts, not only the divorce, not only the accusations of assault, but also I was trying to make sure that I had access to my then 1-year-old daughter.
Sure.
And that was the main fight for me. Everything else were just sideshows.
Yeah,
but
the access
main
to your child
event was the access
it's
to
a
my
non-negotiable.
child. Exactly. But I had to fight all these other battles first.
Right.
And that taught me a lot, a great life lesson, which is, once you've made the main thing, don't worry about the other distractions. You just go through them.
They're secondary.
And it'll be like a fire, but you won't get burnt.
Right.
Because sometimes these fires are like special effects. You know, I'm in television and film.
Right.
And we walk through fires that look real, but they're not.
They're not. Yeah, it's a perception.
Yeah, and I want to encourage every man out there who has been struggling, because our justice system at the moment is not geared yet, even though the Constitution guarantees fathers equal rights and responsibilities.
Right.
I don't think the justice system has caught up with that. So it ends up being a father needs to prove his rights.
Imagine that.
You know, as opposed to just be given them.
Yeah.
And I find that a lot of fathers go through a rough time, and lawyers sometimes don't tell us the full story, that it's a marathon, it's not a sprint.
Yeah.
So it's going to take some years, but you got to hang in there. And when you hear those voices tell you to give up, I remember even after I had a court order to go see my daughter, and it was a Saturday morning, and I wanted to see her because according to the court order, and I couldn't. And then I had to go and get the police to accompany me so that I could have access.
You couldn't because?
Because the mom had decided she didn't feel like it that day.
Okay,
right? Which does happen.
So you guys had a mutual agreement at some point, and then you decided to take it the legal route because.
We never had a mutual agreement.
Oh, okay.
I had to get a court order to see my daughter, and once I had that court order and it was time to enforce it, I had some issues, some challenges, some difficulties.
Right.
And obviously you just can't get into some of these properties like complexes and estates
right.
By yourself without permission from the other person. But I have this court order.
Right.
So now what do? Decided, okay, let me exercise my rights and go to the police.
Sure.
The police fortunately helped me that morning. But after helping me a couple of weekends in a row, they were actually the head of the police of that particular branch.
Right.
One day sat me down and said, "Listen, man, we can't keep accompanying you.
Why?
Because we're gonna get into trouble
with who?
With the law. Apparently, there was a higher up who didn't like the fact that I was doing this.
Okay, so it was personal.
It was very personal.
Right.
No, I knew that from the moment that, I mean, even with my assault charges, suddenly there was this NPA
investigation against you.
Like they were there every appearance, and
right.
then I knew, okay, this is more than just me.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, I remember I don't know the exact rank, but basically he's the guy who runs the head of that police station. He says to me, "You know, my man, forget about the child. When she's old enough and she's about 18, she'll look for you."
Well, this is another man saying this to you, that forget about your child. Does this man have children of his own?
You know, I asked him, "Do you have children of your own?" He said, "Yeah, I've also been through situations like this, and I just forgot about my children, and they found me." And I said, "You know what? I don't know what your situation is, but that's not happening to my children.
Right.
I'm gonna fight for them."
Shout out to you for fighting for your daughter.
And that's so important. And I think I wanna say to all men who are fighting the big fight, because I've met a lot of guys along the way. I've helped a lot. Understand that what you're going through is not for you. So all your pitfalls, and I was always like, God, why is this? It took me 8 years, right?
Yeah.
Why is it taking so long? And you know,
8 years.
8 years, 8 full years, man. Just until I finally got the kind of access that I wanted, which was 50-50.
So wait, hold on. Let me understand this for someone who's also watching.
Mm-hmm.
It took 8 years for you to have access to your child. So what happens in those 8 years?
So it's incremental, right?
Okay.
In those 8 years, you might start with the court system saying, you got to see your child, sort of like a supervised visit. Someone has to be there, but which, by the way, you have to pay for yourself.
Wait, you have to pay someone to supervise
to sit
you
with you
with
and
your child.
Yes, to make sure that you're not some sort of danger. And that's where a lot of us fail at the first hurdle, because it's very painful. And I can understand when you're thinking about it at that moment, you're like, but this is my right. Why should I have
my child?
Yeah, it's my child. Why should someone else be there, number one? And then I have to pick up the tab.
But what happens if you're unemployed? Or you just got retrenched? Do they consider those factors?
Look, I'll be honest. You have to mention that to the court. Then the court will have to.
Or you have to declare.
Yeah, you have to declare. And then I think it can be very embarrassing for someone who's going through that. I mean, it's not like I was financially going through the most. You know, yeah. I was going through a rough period because I'd just been cancelled. You know how it is as a man.
Cancel culture.
Once you're accused of something like that, especially at that time,
the jobs dry up.
The jobs were drying up. I mean, I was getting, my agent was telling me, "Yo, there are people who are like, we can't work with you because of this accusation." And funny enough, I say this to most guys who have been wrongly accused. It's sometimes better. In fact, it's always better to go through the court case. Right. Because that's the only place where you get your vindication.
Sure.
The worst thing is for it to just be left, you know, where there's no investigation, the NPA doesn't follow through, because the allegation is always far worse than the actual charge itself. If you get my saying.
Yeah, because people believe that, right? You're guilty by default.
And if you are somehow well known, obviously that will be something that will go into the papers, and then you'll be finished because you'll be known for that.
No one wants to touch you. Even your friends and your acquaintances. How did they change the dynamic with your friendships?
I lost a lot of friends. You know, at my 40th birthday party, I struggled to keep it down to 150 names. A year later, I struggled to find one friend I could call just to be like, hey man, I'm just going through this, can I just talk, you know?
Sure.
Or found one person who was willing to even accompany me to one court day, you know?
Sure.
So you lose a lot, but it's always good to lose those people and some of the things that you had around you.
Right.
Because sometimes you don't also realize it as men. Like, especially when we're young, and I can admit this, when I was going through this, I was at a point where I really thought I was on top of the world.
Right. But you were.
Your
career was thriving.
And I'm talking about my attitude, maybe. I
hear you.
And maybe my attitude made me believe that I was like this big man, and I'd lost some of my humility.
Did you think you were untouchable?
I did think I was untouchable to a certain extent. But going through this helped me to realize that if I want to be in the space where I want to encourage people, sometimes we have to fall down because it's too easy. I find that I used to go to business seminars and what and speak when we go there and we're keynote speakers.
Yeah, with the right English.
Yeah,
that top billing English of yours. Welcome to tonight's episode of Fella. When I know, you know, I used to look up to you, bro. I still do. I'm not taking that away from you, but I mean, I used to like watch you and how you used to present, and I was like, I want to be like that guy. His English is so well posed. I thank
my parents for that.
Shout out to your parents.
Education, you know. So we sometimes take it for granted what another person is going through.
Sure.
You know, there's a lot of people who will say things. You just gotta send out more CVs. You just gotta
put yourself out there.
Put yourself out there. You just gotta work harder. You know, billionaires. They're the only cars that are up at 4 in the morning are billionaires cars. And I'm like, no, it's usually taxis and public transport.
And buses.
Yeah, and buses, right?
Let's be honest. Right?
It's the hard work.
There's no sugarcoating.
Right? Billionaires.
Those guys are sleeping. They wake up at 10, bro. There's no time to wake up at 4. For what?
So I think for me, what was good about that was being able to really meet guys at wherever they are.
Right.
And not just say, no, man, you just need to get a lawyer. You just need to go there and you need to get that.
At that point of need.
At that point of need. I had to be able to get to a point where if anyone tells me their saddest story, I can relate to it because I've been through it. And I can say, hey, if this happened at the family advocate's office and you went the first time and it didn't work, do this, call that person. If that happened at the magistrate's court, then go and speak to that clerk and things like that, which I found had it been an easy ride, had it been just a quick 1 year,
Tumisho,
everything happened, I would be giving people wrong advice. And there'd be a lot of hurt people out there who are coming to me and going, dude, you don't know what I've had to do. And I'm like, nah, you must be doing something wrong. Now I realize the system is actually geared against us and we have to work double harder to make them realize that if you want to see your child, here's the thing, and I find this, it happens all the time to guys who go to these courts.
Right.
Every guy who wants to see their child, when I've seen them at court, the other side accuses them of maybe
everything you were accused of.
They are abusers.
Right.
They're alcoholics and drug addicts.
Yeah.
And I always say to myself, guys, if I was a drug addict, the last thing I'd want is to see a child on a weekend? Are you kidding me? You want me to fight for this child to see them on Saturday and Sunday? That is
high state
addicts like paradise. Those are the best days to be high.
And you want me to no, that's actually a valid point.
You know what I'm saying? So why are you accusing me of this? Like, I want to see the child on the weekend. If I really was like having a substance abuse problem, I actually wouldn't even be here, guys.
Absolutely.
Because it would be costing me.
Absolutely.
And so I would be like, this money is eating into my funds for the weekend.
Sure.
You know, but that happens a lot. And here's the thing, just go through it.
Yeah.
Just go through. So I had to go for, I thought it was going to be simple, right? You do a urine test, you do a blood test. But it doesn't work that way.
Right. How does it work? Teach us.
Well, people can ask for funny things. And apparently there's this method where you have to get a hair follicle test and a nail clipping test. Both of them are quite expensive. Okay. The hair follicle test was 6,000 rands. It was done through the University of Pretoria. And you as a father have to find the cash to pay for this.
Because you want to see your child, right?
Right. So fortunately, you know, by the grace of God, I always had the money. Like, sure. I'm just so thankful that somehow, some way, and a lot of the times it was also, I just didn't spend on other things. Listen, I was living at my mom and dad's house, okay? As a 42-year-old man.
So wait, you went back home?
I went back
as a result of the divorce, or
as a result of more the cancelling, where now I can't work, I don't have a place to stay, and I'm fighting all these legal battles. And I was like, I need to have a war chest for these legal battles, and the best thing I can do is just use my savings and stay at home. So what was my point now?
Sorry, man. I know it's because I threw you off.
No.
I wanted to get clarity on that part.
What I wanted to say is, so we went there to the University of Pretoria, and we did the hair follicle test. Then I was asked for a nail clipping test. So I have to grow my nails. Like, I have to be like Dracula with these long nails for 3 months. And then that's an 8,000 Rand test, because that's going to America. So it tests in the past 3 months. Yeah, there's only one place that does this in the States. Wow. So so it checks for the past 3 to 6 months. Have you ingested any sort of drugs? Okay. And the reason why it's in your nails, because you know you got collagen and your hair. Yeah. So it can tell, it's got a history, carries that history. And I was happy to do it. Right. And I did it, man. Yeah. And it proved beyond doubt that I wasn't taking any of these substances I'm accused of taking.
12,000 Rand later, because you paid 6,000 and then you paid 8,000.
I paid 8. That's, no, your math is wrong.
No, 8 and 6 is 12.
It's 14.
It's 14. Hey, okay, I'm not an accountant. It's okay. Financial wellness is one of the things we address.
Remember, every time I go to court, I got to pay about 15K for the
sure.
My lawyer to be there to accompany me, because we're there all day.
How much did you do? You mind talking about these? Because I mean, someone else is probably going through what you're going through. 8 years was the period it took for you to finally get access. If you look back at how much money you spent,
easily $500,000.
$500,000 just to have access to your child, and that $500,000 could have gone towards her well-being.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I had big plans for her. I wanted her to have access to all sorts of, you know, when she grows up, she can go to any university she wants to and things like that. But I'll say this, guys. Right. We go through some of these tough things, and at the time when we're going through them, we think it's over for me and I'll never get that money back. And the plans that I have a lot of faith that by the time she's old enough, right, the very plans I had, something will come right.
Something must give.
Something like the money will be there.
Absolutely.
Even if I've had to start again, which I have,
right,
for saving all that money, it's fine. Yeah. It's life. There's nothing more important than making sure your children know, as the father, you fought for them.
Absolutely.
Not the other way around.
It's priceless, though.
That is priceless, and that I'd spend the rest of my life paying for if I had to. I don't mind.
And your daughter will always remember that you fought for her.
That's what I wanted her to always know for sure. I didn't want that to be a debate. I didn't want her to grow up and be like, but Dad, if you really wanted to see me,
what did you do?
What did you do? And I was like, well, I was waiting for you to grow up.
I sent a text here and there. And she didn't respond.
You didn't get my happy birthday.
Once a month I would just send something.
And that's the thing, guys. Like, take responsibility, because we end up blaming our exes and whatnot and then giving up. And it's easy to give up because it feels like you've done your best. Yeah. Don't. Fight for those kids, man. See those kids, because we need more fathers. We need more AMATYMA in children's lives, because you don't understand how important that is to be in a child's life and how it shapes them for the future. I think a lot of our social ills, we're fighting crime, we're fighting corruption, we're fighting unemployment, we're fighting all sorts of, all the things that are great lessons of life. Absolutely. Most of us learn from our father. You know, the other day I was at the gym and I'm sitting there and I'm seeing someone's phone just lying there. And I'm like, oh,
in South Africa.
Yeah. And then my father's voice rings in my head. If it's not yours, don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
So I realize as I get older, a lot of the advice that I have in my head, it's actually, I hear literally my dad saying things like, Onyaka nightclub, only 45. What a high.
Ngudu.
That's what I learned.
And I think I didn't go to the club. But I was any place. I
want to die. So I think without being without simplifying a lot of those issues, I think it's important for fathers to fight for their children, because those are the very children. If someone's trying to keep you from a child, just know that child is going to be somebody special. And you have to be in their life, because if you're not, it's going to disrupt them somehow.
And when they become a star, then you want to become their father. Right. When you see in the articles and in the world news, That's my daughter. I'm the father. Now you want to come out and say you've left it for all this time.
That sounds like our storyline from Champions. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, he's now pushing other shows. Before you go,
Yeah.
is your father still alive?
Yeah, he is. I'm very grateful.
How's your relationship with your father?
It's really good. I think those 5 years that I spent back home, I'll say this for any man who ends up having to move back home, guys. Always look for the brighter side. I know I'm throwing a lot of what do we call it? Self-help type quotes.
Yeah. But we need it.
But this is real.
Yeah.
I've experienced it in my own life, right? I found myself moving back with my parents, and I thought it was a curse, but it was actually a real blessing.
Yeah.
Because I got to spend time with them as a grown-up,
Right.
And we were at the same level,
Yeah.
and I got to know them so much better. This is something that I would have never been able to
The
have.
conversations are different.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't have been able to have that had I still been married and all that. And I'm not saying being married. Obviously, being married is a good thing.
Of course it
Married
is.
But
Would you marry
I'm
again?
great.
Did you say that?
I am.
Okay, we'll get back to
I
that.
like
Finish what you're saying. I want to talk about you
No,
getting
I'm
married
just
again.
saying that when you find yourself every difficult situation, there's something good in it.
Absolutely.
You know. So now, if my father passed away today,
Right.
I'm gonna be less sad because I feel like I actually spent time with this guy and I got to know him so much better.
Shout out to your dad, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to your dad. You getting married for the third time?
No, I'm married.
Oh, you married?
Done. It's done. You can't talk me out of it.
Oh, so you got married for the third time.
Yeah.
And what are you gonna do differently this time that you didn't do the first and second time?
I think I'm gonna stick to the basics.
Right.
I think I'd like to add that. Stick to the basics. Follow the rules.
Yeah.
See, everything has its own rules. If you want to play soccer, you can't play it with a rugby ball.
Yeah.
And you can't come with rugby rules.
Right.
So what we like to do
like
people
that.
is we get married and then we want to play to the world's rules. You see, marriage wasn't created by people. It was created by God.
Yeah.
There is a
Love that.
structure, there's a way to do it. And once you go outside of that structure, it's bound to fail. And you know what, guys? I'm speaking nice now, and I'm speaking as if I'm this sweet Konyana, but I had some issues that I had to work through myself.
Right.
I had to start again with therapy. I had to make sure that I went to people who can talk to me about who I am and what I'm supposed to be.
Sure.
Right? That are professionals that can talk me through it and make me a better person. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes as men, we're like, I'm weak because someone had to tell me how to be something that I should know how to be. Like we assume that we should know how to be men because we got our driver's licenses. A lot of the times it's finding it through life coaches, it's finding it through therapists, actually getting to meet the right kind of people, the right friends.
Right
Most
company.
of the time the right company is pretty boring.
Yeah.
They're not going out on Thursday, Friday,
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday night.
Yeah.
A lot of the times they really are very family oriented. So you've got to go see the guy at his house.
Right.
His wife is maybe gonna make
And
you
the
guys
kids
some
are there,
dinner,
running
the kids are
around.
there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On a stock or that.
Yeah, I want us to talk. You can't go back home come 6 in the morning.
No,
That's
because the
not
guy's
kind of
like,
life.
oh, dude, it's 10.
Yeah,
I've got to go to bed.
when are you
When
going?
are you going,
Dude,
right?
I've got an early board meeting. There's no board meeting. Just
Yeah.
want you to go home.
Like his wife is waiting for him to come to bed, right?
Right.
But those are the kind of people that I think you should be around, and that's what I also need you to do.
Sure.
Find the right kind of people in my life and hang out with them more. You know?
Sure. My brother, thank you for your time. There's a lot that we still need to
Anytime,
talk
thank
about. I need you to come back at some point. I think
will.
there's a lot of lessons that have come out of just you teaching us about the court system and what you went through. I think there's a lot of other men that could learn from your experience. And I think with these conversations, we are really opening this platform for men to talk. Men don't like to talk.
Yeah.
So we're saying, NDODA, KHULUMA, RINGA, MJITA, bua, MONNA, PRAAT, OUENS, man. Let's get to a point where we can sit around the table as men and address issues, because a lot of these gender-based violence-related issues, because men don't talk. Men are the biggest perpetrators. Are you aware that every 63 seconds a woman or child are a victim of gender-based violence?
That's too much. That's too much. And I think it's on us as men to understand that we need to take our own responsibility for that and talk to other guys. That's not the way to deal with it. Violence never helps anybody. So in spite of everything I've said, I think the right way to deal with disappointment, the right way to deal with anything that's hurtful in your life is to always walk away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Walk away.
And as men, guys, just try to be the heroes of your own stories as well. You know, always try to think with that positive thing of, if I was the steering of this movie,
How would it end?
how would it end? What would I do at this time if I was the Bruce Willis of this movie, or the Denzel? You know what I'm
My
saying?
man. Thank you for your time, my brother.
Thank you.
Another great episode of the AMATYMA series with my brother Tumisho, Masha. always be the hero of your own story. That's something that I'll take away, and he's definitely coming back, and we keep the conversations going. We want to bring more men like him, like-minded men. We're building a society of good men here, men who are able to be honest about how they feel. It's okay to cry off it as well. Yeah. My hero lana. Sibonge. Sithetako.